agree to that?
Agree to what?
To the week and a half petition?
What the
Yeah,
point
that's
is,
nothing to agree to. That's
you
the
guys have,
timeline.
I mean, the question is, can you,
Okay.
will we be able to agree on what the percentages are for the benefit district?
And then they have to carry the
And then they have to carry a petition.
But we don't have to agree on option 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes.
tonight.
Tonight.
They've got to be able to see on that piece of paper.
how much it's gonna cost them.
What their term is and what their total
Right.
expense will be.
Which will actually not be, their cost could go down. from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
It needs to be the worst case
maximum amount.
scenario.
It's a not to exceed amount.
Number 3 at 25%.
Number 4, 30%.
Just to be clear, what percent are you guys, is that the city at large?
City at large, I was going up to 25% on number 3. And he countered me with 30% on number 4.
I think
So the question, Kendra, is do you think we're gonna be able to reach a decision tonight? A third vote will be,
No, I don't think we can reach a decision tonight.
okay. Then my recommendation is that we table this, but we will make that decision when we get to old
But we're
business.
putting ourselves in trouble with a benefit district and a petition, right?
Potentially, but it's either that or it's a 2-2 vote tonight or whatever
Oh.
the vote is, and we're in the same boat. And then we've got to go through the whole process of figuring out the region
Okay,
and all that.
then we have to decide 3 or 4 tonight, right? I mean, really, logistically,
I mean,
to meet
sure, I'm gonna.
August 2nd.
So if the decision is to not table this, that's fine, I'll close this meeting. If the decision is to table it, I'll close the meeting, either way. But I wanted to try and figure out where you guys were, because my discussion tonight is gonna be that this was brought to us late. If we're not gonna table it and have the full commission here to vote on it and really be able to flesh this out, then it's just not gonna happen, because we can't be rushed into these decisions because we got the information 1 month ago. And we don't have all the commission here. You weren't here at the last meeting, I mean, you kind of were.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Greg's not here at this meeting, we've got to have a commission here to be able to make these decisions. So I just need to know from this group, if you guys believe that you're gonna be able to reach an amicable decision tonight, and if not, then we're gonna table it and move on, because there's no point in wasting everyone's time to come up with a 2-2 vote.
Let's see if we can reach an amicable
Okay.
decision during the
I'm gonna close this,
commission meeting.
that's perfect, I'm gonna close this meeting and we'll get the regular meeting started. Whenever
Need
he's
a
ready.
motion to close it?
No. Okay, so I'm going to call to order tonight's regular city commission meeting for July 19th, 2021. Roll call, Tabitha.
Mayor Young,
Here.
Commissioner Guthrie,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis is absent this evening, Commissioner Hadley,
Here.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Present.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
So the invocation tonight is not Pastor Debbie McClure.
It is, Reverend Mark Summerville, Pastor Debbie McClure is sick.
Okay.
Shall we pray?
Yes, sir.
Our gracious Father, we come to you this evening. We, again, as we do each at city council meetings, we seek your wisdom, your guidance tonight for this meeting. There are many issues that are going to come before the commission this evening that are going to need your guidance, and we just pray your hand will be upon them. Continue to bless them in all they do. We pray in Christ's name. Amen.
All right, everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, personal appearances, or there's no proclamations tonight, excuse me. I can take that. Personal appearances are opportunities for organizations or citizens to make special presentations before the city commission. Such appearances are scheduled in advance of the meeting by calling City Clerk Tabitha Sharp at 316-321-9100 by 5 o'clock p.m. the Tuesday preceding the meeting. Presentations are limited to 10 minutes. Any presentation is for information purposes only, and no action will be taken. Are there any personal appearances tonight, Tabitha?
Yeah.
Perfect. Public comment. Persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items not on the agenda and that are under the jurisdiction of the city commission may do so when called upon. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and any presentation is for information purposes only, and no action will be taken. Do I have anyone here for public comment tonight?
This is Steve Fellers here this evening.
Come on down, Mr. Fellers.
Hello, Commissioners. Steve Fellers, 2034 Chelsea Drive. First of all, I want to say I appreciate all the work you do. And man, that was some hard work you guys just did. Didn't reach a culmination, but man, you guys do good stuff, and I appreciate that. And I know that I've been able to visit with you guys one way or another in some place, and I always appreciate the access that you give me for that. Also, I'd like to compliment the city on this monthly newsletter we get. I like to read. I still get a newspaper. I know I'm kind of old-fashioned. I was recently told that David, you do a Facebook Live every Friday, which I think that's awesome. I don't do Facebook, but that's awesome. Young people like that. So anyway, I appreciate everything the city does. I've been a resident for, since 1985. So it's been a while, and I think El Dorado is a great city. I raised my kids here, my grandkids are here. It's an awesome place. What I do want to just ask you about, maybe talk about a little bit tonight, was your city ordinance S-1323, which is the penny sales tax that we have. And we've had it for 30 years, and we vote for it every 5 years, and I voted for it every single time. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Regardless of what you guys think about what I present to you tonight about it, I'm still going to vote for it. I just think it's an awesome thing that we do. So, I was fortunate enough to be on the excess sales tax committee this year. The way that works is, as you all know, there's a process where you can nominate somebody, and also on the planning commission. So from there, I was nominated and put on that. And so I understand the process. I know that this year we had that penny sales tax, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, raised about $2.6 million, which is an awesome thing. And I know that quite a bit of it goes to property tax reduction and the fixed streets. I live on Chelsea Drive, and I don't know how that street was, 40 years or so old, and it got repaid, didn't cost me a dime. So I guess all those pennies I put in the years really paid off. So that was awesome. So the meeting you guys had on May 17th of 2021, the video and audio did not work. And so I was interested as to what happened at the commission meeting. And so all I have is the minutes. And so I do know at that meeting, it was presented by Wade Wilkinson from our committee, and it was about $300,000 we had. The process now is city staff puts out their wish list, and they say these are things that we need to get done and like to get done. And obviously there's never enough money to get everything done. And the sales tax committee, excess sales tax committee put forth to you some projects. And the way I read the minutes is that our recommendations failed 2-3. And again, I know it's just recommendations, and you guys do decide what you want to do, and that's why you're elected officials. So from the minutes, I read this. It says, Mayor Bill Young stated that he felt there was a need to repair many of the recreational facilities. He stated he thought it might be appropriate to begin dedicating more excess sales tax funds to those large projects. He said that putting money towards these projects a little at a time was only putting off the project to a time where it might be more expensive. He stated he would like to have a discussion about utilization of the excess sales tax differently. So I did look at all the projects, and I went back 20 years, and by my account, 17 of the last 20 years, dollars were applied to recreation things or recreational related things. And I included sidewalks in there because for older people, obviously, those are important. For children's safety, that's important. So I do think we put a lot of money into those. I feel like we got into the fourth quarter of the game. we were in the last 2 minutes of the process, and the rules changed. For 30 years, we've done this, where we've gone to, staff puts out what they would like, you pick involved citizens that are just as much in love with Elbury as I am, and we put forth our recommendations. So I'm not against change, and I could agree to look at something else, but I want to do that in the pregame versus the last 2 minutes. So I'm here to ask you to consider to join the 2 people that voted for our recommendations as is, and then restart next year, and maybe look at, hey, should we do something different? But again, I think it was kind of last minute. I think we should go back and do the time-honored way we've done it, appropriate those, the things the staff wanted, that your excess sales tax committee voted, and thank you for your time. And I will definitely vote for the sales tax each and every 5 years I'm here. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fellers.
All right, anyone else for public comment? Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Tonight, for the consent agenda, we're considering the approval of special city commission minutes from June 30th, 2021, and city commission minutes from July 6th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that the consent agenda as presented be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. In old business, consideration of the city's participation in a project to underground the overhead utilities within the 100 block of North Main Street. David?
Well, we've had some good discussion. I've been thinking a lot about this for the last couple minutes. So, as a means of trying to get to a negotiated conclusion, if, let's take the 21%, let's throw it out. Okay, let's just throw that number out for now. Okay, if we look at this like we do normal other projects, we usually use square footage, or that's another equitable manner to look at the project. So, if I look at this map right here, I'm going to look at it in fourth, right? So we're looking fourths. Now, this is a slight exaggeration perhaps, because there's additional properties, but for illustrative purposes. So we have the parking lot here. Sorry, you all can't see this where I'm pointing, but I'm pointing to the parking lot on the east side of the street. So that's 25% of the project. Then the buildings in the middle, 25% of the project. Buildings on the other side of the street, 25%, and the parking lot on the other side, approximately 25%. Okay? So the parking lots, for the most part, are owned by the city of El Dorado. So if we look at it from a square footage standpoint, based on that, one could argue that we own approximately 50% of the total project cost. So if you wanted to start there and go, then that would be one way to look at it as well. So the equitable methods give you different results depending on what you're aiming for. We use linear feet, but I guess I'm showing you square footage because it illustrates a different path. So parking lot is approximately 25%, the other parking lot is approximately 25%, the buildings equal approximately 50%. And since we have the parking lots, you can start at 50%. So that might get you closer to a negotiated solution, perhaps, maybe not. That's just one thing. So again, we looked at the project. There's a couple different options for funding it, but at the end of the day, what you have is, does the city want to do the project? If the answer is yes, then it becomes a matter of how much does the city want to pay versus the benefit district. And that's bottom line, that is the question that we have before us. Now, Evergy was here a moment ago, they left. Understand time is of the essence for them. Delaying the project may compromise the opportunity to go underground. So I guess if the commission's desire is to go underground, then the question is really what percentage of that project needs to be borne by the city. And as you can see, I just gave one example where one can argue 50% would be a justified expense. But obviously subject to debate and discussion. So I don't know if there's, we've talked about the technical aspects, we've talked about all those other pieces, but I think the last piece that we have is the policy matter of, how much is the city going to contribute, whether that's as a property owner and or as an at-large unit of account.
So Kendra, at the 30% that I gave you at the end of the last meeting, that changes our in to 102,000, and it drops the yearly number down to 1,700. Just, okay, did you get that? Are we close?
I went a little higher than that.
Okay, well, what's your number?
Well, I mean, I just wrote numbers as I did this.
Yeah,
My question would be, if you count the 2 parking lots as 50%, does that change how you figure for
well,
the
they're just doing
individual
it between
buildings?
28 buildings. They're doing it equally to each
Oh, but
building.
if they do them by linear foot,
So what we would do, we'd have to do everybody the same. So the way this would work, if you counted the 2 parking lots as 50%, then the remainder of the project, the remaining 50%, would be apportioned to the remaining 28 properties. So you'd have 50% of the project divided by 28, that's your assessment, then you divide that by the term. So it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever, and then that would determine your payment, if you will.
In your benefit district, did that include all the way up to El Dorado Family Dentistry?
No, because they are currently underground today.
And so is
Overground.
And so is Emprise. Okay, so the 28 is just, does it go west across Cordy? Your benefit district?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess I don't think 50% is the number. And I mean, I don't think that, those lots are 50% of the, and then as you continue on. 35%. And the reason, and because I'm taking the consideration, it's, 35, if you go the size of that, that's probably 35% of the block of the parking lots. The 2 parking lots are, my uneducated brain, it's about 30% of the block, 35%.
okay, now I'm going to assume that you're looking at the project area.
Yes, well, I'm looking at this map
Well,
right here.
That's different than this.
I get that, but, this is what they keep giving us. I mean, because the parking lot doesn't go all the way to Central. It doesn't go from First to Central, so that's not a full half, 50%. I'm gonna say it's a third of the block.
Plus, the parking lot ain't gonna get the benefit of the
I
underground.
know,
All the
but
lighting for the parking
I get
lot's
you.
still gonna be overhead.
I'm trying to get us a resolution tonight, and it seems like it's between me and Kendra. So,
And that's why we sit on opposite
you know
ends.
what, it's great.
But you're doing it based on the full 340,000.
I agree.
Whereas I have no problem with the city in-kind work.
Okay,
You're just gonna let us.
I'm bringing my number up.
Okay.
I understand,
Give me your numbers again.
35,
35% would be the city at large, how much?
35, I don't know how much that is, let me,
I thought you did.
30% was 102. So
You're
340.
basing this on the 340,000.
Correct,
119,000.
119.
Another 19 grand.
119,000.
So I came up 17 grand. And 35% is I think is a fair number if we go with what David just suggested to us.
So if the city pays 119 of the benefit district,
Of the 340,
the city pays 118?
of the 340, yeah. That's the offer on the table.
Which would be about 1,580 a property.
A year for 5 years.
Yes.
Oh, hold on, are we looking at the 340 or the 160?
340.
340 minus 119. While he's tallying that up, just so that everyone knows, I'm advocating for option number 3, which is utilizing city resources, city staff to do the work that city staff and city resources can do, just like we have on multiple projects prior to this, which reduces the cash out direct expense cost. And then I would also advocate for an increase in the city at large percentage.
No, go ahead, you want to scratch paper?
Scott, to the best of your knowledge, have our crews ever bored and pulled 4-inch pipe before? I know we've done that burst deal, but we hire that done. I mean, there's a big difference.
Yes.
To me, there's a big difference between pulling 4-inch pipe and pulling a 2-inch water line.
So, yeah, that's why we've got equipment rental.
Where they're gonna have to rent, you're gonna have to rent a bigger bore.
At least go onto the roads.
Well, but those guys said, those Evergy guys said that all that primary conductor going down the alley's gotta be 4-inch too.
You know, the majority of this is gonna be open cuts. We're not gonna open cut the streets, is the way I'm looking at it.
Oh, so it'll be trenched,
Trenched
it
back
won't be,
Yeah.
it won't be bored.
Right.
The only thing you're gonna do is bore
Okay,
Main
that's-
Street, First Street,
First, Gordy.
and Gordy.
Right.
That's still a long way to pull a piece of 4-inch, I think.
Well, they've done it. So 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago now, the city, we rented the equipment. The city pulled 4-inch for the college for us because we didn't have the expertise in dealing with pipe that big. They pulled 4-inch for us. Under a significant portion of our parking lot out there from the Welcome Center over to the 900 building.
That deep? That deep?
4-inch underneath Haverhill Road.
Yeah, they,
Very deep sewer
yeah, going under Haverhill.
Our guys did that?
with rental equipment.
Okay.
So do you guys have some interest in hearing from some of the downtown businesses that you?
Yes.
Okay,
You told them.
yep, just wanted to make sure. Dave, you want to come up?
David Sundgren, 840 Car Drive. We still doing that.
Absolutely. Mainly because we just like to know where you live, so.
It's been a long time since I've been here, and I'll be real short. I would just like for you guys to consider this. The difference between taxes that residential people pay, and I'm a resident too, and the commercial people downtown is probably the most unfair part of the tax in the state of Kansas when it comes to real property taxes. And so as you guys sit here and negotiate how much the commercial buildings downtown should pay, you should keep that in mind, I think. For instance, I think our building that we have, and I've got 3 or 4 buildings downtown, but my office building, we pay over $500 a month just in property tax. And, you know, for a house, my house is probably valued twice the value of my business, and I pay half the taxes on that. So when you look at the general public and what they're paying versus what the commercial people are paying, and so you don't want to slight the residents or the taxpayer, that's what you guys are talking about. Just keep in mind that the businesses are the lifeblood of the downtown. They bring in all the tax dollars, or a lot of the tax dollars. And so, and I haven't paid very close attention to this project, other than anytime you can bury wires and get them out of that area, it's a good thing. But just so you think about, you know, the city's getting all the tax dollars from the downtown, please help them as much as you can.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else?
Samuel McVeigh, 1832 Circle Drive. It's the first time I've done this.
It's exciting,
I've
isn't
watched
it?
a lot of videos. So I've been practicing in my mirror. But first off, I just want to address something Matt said that I think Joe brought up a good point, which was it shouldn't be free to select businesses, which you guys have been negotiating quite a bit. If I want it for my house or I want it for my business in a different area, obviously it's complete. It's not even close to the same thing. So that's my first thing. If we can keep this in the context of what we're where we're providing value. And I don't hear anybody talking about the value you're creating. You have an opportunity to create value in the city, and it happens to be downtown. I own property downtown, obviously, is why I'm here. My valuation doesn't go up. It sounds like I'm gonna have to pay more money to do something that would benefit the town as a whole, create a cleaner environment, provide safety, with less power outages. I mean, like, obviously the infrastructure is not even a debate, it's better. We know it's better, but it costs money. So the debate is who pays and what is the long-term value. Most importantly, it's for our city, it's our downtown. It's preserving history. We're downtown owners, we preserve history. We're not just paying property tax. I'm paying employee tax, I'm paying sales tax, and I'm focusing on creating an environment. Every building downtown is depreciating faster than we can create value for the property itself. There's nobody downtown that's wealthy on their property. I'm not saying no one's wealthy downtown, but because of their property, they are not wealthy, and this will not get anybody wealthy by any means, and you guys know this. But it's not in our best interest. It's not in my best interest to be downtown. I'm downtown for a commitment to make El Dorado better, and I think me being downtown specifically for my business is way more advantageous. I should be out west. I should be on West Central. It just makes sense with the big billboard, right? But we're downtown because I believe in a commitment to make our downtown better, because I do believe there's an opportunity to create culture, environment, and experience. Like, that's it. We don't got a lot going on for us a lot of days, but we could create some pretty unique experiences. And we can be versatile. It allows stupid, crazy people like me to do whatever I'm thinking. You know, we get to dream, and that's the opportunity with downtown. But infrastructure downtown is lacking. It has been for a long time. I've been downtown for 6 years, and I've seen one improvement that's happened, and it was the dumpster corrals. As far as like the city making an investment to our area, and that was when lumber cost nothing. So that was basically free compared to lumber prices now. Obviously, long term, I think for all of us, the terms you guys are negotiating, and that part's really hard to hear. And I don't, yeah, in all honesty, this whole process is super disappointing to me as a longtime resident of El Dorado. I fell in love with my wife running those rooftops with my head way too close to those power lines. I mean, I have so many members downtown, all these rooftops, and I want to see it progress, and I want to see it get better. And we have an opportunity to go from 1.3 million down to 300,000. And you guys owe it to your city. Again, there's no value benefit to us downtown business owners. There's a benefit in the infrastructure and progressing. We have an opportunity to do something better for a part of El Dorado. And I really hope you guys can come to an agreement that's fair to people creating value, creating jobs, paying tax, you know, any building that can be full. And this doesn't solve that problem, but it does create infrastructure opportunity for us to get more creative. It creates an opportunity for my neighbor to keep renovating his building all the way to the rooftop. And again, creating experience and opportunity for culture. And that's all downtown is. It's not a moneymaker, but it's an opportunity for culture and experience. But I'm pleading with you guys. This sucks. This is really unfortunate what this has come down to. The way I'm hearing this talked about, it sounds like a really awesome opportunity. It is an awesome opportunity. Whenever anything goes from 1.3 million down to 300 some thousand, I'm like, yeah, I wish I would have got maybe a little more planning and intention. And that's not, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus at all. I'm just pleading with you to put in the effort that's, I think, deserved for this opportunity. And and appreciate the effort that I
What
see.
went from 1.3 million to?
The overall project's 1.3. Evergy's eating like
If we
800,000.
pursued this project, Nick, if I understood right, if we pursued this project outside of Evergy pursuing us, that number was thrown out.
Their total all in is at
1.7.
1.3 to make the project happen underground. And they are needing to upgrade their ancient.
But they need to do
They
that
have
because their infrastructure in that is crap.
Right.
So there's-
And so they have to do
Here's
something.
the opportunity, it's probably not gonna happen again for our lifetimes, to have this
Right.
opportunity, like they do to all their customers. You want it underground, you're paying for it. So they're trying to identify it with the city of El Dorado as a body, being able to participate in those costs. The difference.
Last thing, terms, and I'll walk away from the pulpit. The terms gotta be longer. I'm telling you right now, I can think of multiple businesses. If you handed me this petition, and you even covered 50%, and you guys want the turnkey project, and you go with option 4, it's not gonna get done. I'm just telling you right now. These property owners are already struggling, but especially the property owners that are empty, that are not, already trying to figure out how to turn it into something. It's not gonna go through. So if you can't come to a opportunity of a much higher percentage, you've got to increase the terms. And interest is okay, but at the end of the day, all they're gonna look at is what are they paying annually?
That's fair.
To survive.
Perfectly fair.
So, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Who else? Come on up.
I'm Charles Green. I live at 1365 Country Club Road, and I'm a part owner of Charlie's Appliance. And I want to say that El Dorado's been good to us. We've been blessed. But not all the businesses downtown are doing as well as we're doing. We keep talking about a benefit district. I'm asking you commissioners, does downtown benefit El Dorado? Because if we go with this, there's going to be businesses going to have a hard time coming up with the money to pay for what you're asking them to do. I mean, they have a hard time staying in business as it is. So I just want you to consider what we do for El Dorado. This is not typical of a residential neighborhood or the industrial park. This is downtown El Dorado, small business downtown. And I think you need to consider the benefit that these small businesses provide El Dorado. Thank you.
Hi, Steve Fellers, 2034 Chelsea Drive. I'm listening to the conversation and really keen to talk about the 1 cent sales tax, but I'm just flipping things over in my mind. And I think there's a lot of deals where we have 80-20, like when we're building a road or doing something, is the federal government puts in 80, we put in 20. We think that's an awesome deal. I mean, we've done that many, many times. You want to talk about a precedent that's been set, is we take that 80 money and we pay the 20. So I mean, maybe that's a starting place for your conversation tonight too. Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, our airport project's getting 90-10.
Well, the airport does, but
Yeah, we've had some road projects like that in the
We
past.
all want to take it, right?
Yeah.
Leon Leachman, 1915 Quail Run. I'm also associated with Main Street. I want to say thank you for your work. This is a hard decision to sit here and make because there's so much involved with it. And the other thing that happens is just like they're talking about, where's your sales revenue money generated from? Downtown. So if we lose sight of that and we drop the burden on these people that they had to pay for the small businessmen, they don't have the ability to make up the difference in the revenue loss. So there's a lot of things involved with this. The other thing is, I don't mind telling you, I almost felt like I was at a roulette table. Well, what's the number? Is it 21? Is it 50 or whatever? But the problem is how can you make a decision like this without the data to be able to support that, to know what that number really needs to be that's reasonable? To go out and just say, okay, well, 50 sounds good. Well, is that really right? And, you just look at all this stuff and you gotta say, okay, what's the real number? And I just think it really deserves a lot more than sit around trying to negotiate for 25, 21, 35 on up. That's just not the way to do good business, I don't feel like. If I'd have done that out the refinery when I was doing our budget, I'd have got fired. So, thank you for what you do, but I hope you really consider this even further.
Thank you, Leon.
Hello, this is Nathan Insmier, 424 West Pine Avenue. My wife and I purchased a building downtown with the idea of making it something that we could all enjoy as a community, and we plan on continuing our efforts to rebuild a dilapidated building. One of our goals is to try going to another story high, and the idea of that is skyline, something that, in all, downtown El Dorado doesn't have a lot of views out where people can go that typically would be in town and see something that's different. We've had to change the architectural plan of how we're going to do that based on the power lines. We completely wash out the east side view of it. It makes no sense because all you'd be looking at is a vast row of power lines running through there. So to me, this is an excellent opportunity to give us a downtown aesthetic feel and look that's going to dramatically help out just the experience of the downtown feel. Every dime I've got goes into that building and renovating and making it something different and unique. The only money that would be coming out by making it a district or benefit district would be money coming away from making that a possibility, something that other people are going to be able to enjoy. If I did that at my house, it would be something I would enjoy. The taxes that we pay on the commercial buildings are extremely high. It's just part of what it is, but I see the community as a whole getting benefit from this. And I get benefit from this because it's allowing my dream to continue, and I'm blessed to have that. The concern I have is with the timeline, 2 weeks, we have a number that goes out there and it gets petitioned. It kills everything. And this is a one shot that we have that. And that's what I really don't want to see, because I could see if somebody owned 2 or 3 dilapidated buildings downtown that they're looking at how they're paying taxes on it right now, how are they going to cover an extra expenditure? And that's a downvote. And we only have so many downvotes before it's gone. And that's my concern with having the high percentage one. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Anybody else? So I want to thank everyone for what you guys, for coming up and talking. And you know, I agree completely, and we've talked about this in our comprehensive plan, about the importance of our downtown and the importance to continue investing in our downtown. So I want the conversation up here to continue. My hopes were that we'd be able to either reach a decision or agreement tonight. To Leon's point, that we're throwing around numbers without all the data in front of us, and this is the situation that we've been put in, having received this a month and a half ago. So, we're trying, we'll tell you that my goal in this is to try and make the best decision I can for the city and for our downtown businesses, because our downtown is the lifeblood of, and we've talked about that. I come down and visit your businesses often and come in and talk to you guys often, and I don't want to see this opportunity passed up. I think that we oftentimes talk about, I think kind of with some regret, those opportunities that we lose, and this is one of those times that we have a chance to seize the opportunity and make some needed change downtown. I think that the aesthetics that are created with undergrounding, the safety that's created with undergrounding, in addition to with what Nathan's doing down there in that building, and I mean, we got to go down and take a look at that. It's amazing the transformation that's happening down there, and to your point, the engineering and the architecture changes drastically in dealing with overhead lines. And so I think that's a perfect example of what can happen with some of the other buildings downtown that are currently vacant or that are being considered for remodeling. And I think that building out this underground solution, I think it makes it more inviting downtown to those business owners or those property owners or those investors that may want to come down and invest in those downtown properties and try to renovate and revitalize some of those buildings. We've had some work done downtown. We've got some beautiful new buildings or beautiful revitalized buildings downtown with some of the work that's been done. And I'm truly looking forward to continuing to watch the growth at 142 and see what happens there. So like I said, I am fully in favor of the city's participation from a labor and in-kind work standpoint, and I'm in favor of the city's participation from a financial perspective as well. So I am not sure that where, I mean, I have a good idea of where everybody else stands, but I mean, we need to move forward with the discussion after that input. Nick, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I hate, because he left, but Mr. McVeigh, I think we've invested quite a bit in downtown. I mean, we did and I mean, it was for my time too, but the sidewalks and the stamped concrete, the light poles, the hanging flowers, the benches, the trash receptacles. I think the downtown looks nice on Main Street. I don't see, to me, I don't see how putting this pole line underground in the back of the buildings the power isn't any better, it isn't any cleaner, it isn't any cheaper, it isn't any, I just don't see the value for this kind of money. I mean, for $340,000 or $360,000 or whatever, I mean, we've been told $380,000. I mean, that'll buy a couple dump trucks, that'll buy a trash truck, I mean, that's a lot of money. So I mean, Evergy is doing this because they have to. They're upgrading their infrastructure because they've got to get rid of that old 4,000 volt primary and these 6-wire services. And these businesses, these 5 businesses, sure, nobody wants, they're old, they're antiquated, they're dangerous. I mean, you get low voltage on them. I mean, they're just crap. And this will, when they put this new primary in, they could still do away with those 6-wire services, even though they'll have overhead service drops. So I just don't see the benefit for the amount of money it's going to cost.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Matt?
I wanted to address just a few things. How as I'm listening to our visitors tonight, I was reminiscing of when we voted on Douglas Road. Very similar comments in the fact that there was people that came for Douglas Road that bought a house, didn't even know that they were going to be charged for that street, and that there was an older couple there that was concerned about their property taxes. And I'm hearing, I think I heard it from you and from Scott, that downtown's for this, that they're for it. And I'm hearing from people that own businesses downtown telling me Well, if it's gonna be too high, they're gonna vote no. So, which is it? Are they for it, are not? And so, I understand the benefit of putting lines underground. I understand the aesthetic part of it. I understand that the infrastructure's gonna get, it'll be new infrastructure, but we're gonna get new infrastructure anyways. I just don't think that the lines are gonna be new. That goes from the poles to the buildings. So it's just a matter of, and I just do not, I don't believe in-kind work is not a cost that comes to us. We just disagree. We just flat out disagree on it. And I'm okay with that, of course. But that's not free. That still costs us, and it needs to be included, because I don't know why, I know maybe at the college they might do that, but in construction, if one person goes from one job to another, that 4 hours or 2 hours or whatever is charged to that other job. So there's no free labor whatsoever in construction. Every hour that person works is charged to a particular job, because that job has a certain amount of hours that they can do. And at the end of the job, the owner of the company looks at that number and says, you did not make your hours. If I'm 1,000 hours over on a job, Boston, I'm not going to be happy. If I'm 500 hours under a job, my boss is happy. But those hours still count no matter what. John Q. Public or Bob Jones, from 8 to 10, it costs at a certain job. And that's how businesses work, construction business, and doing things and building things. And I'm using that mentality to what our guys do. We build parks, we build this, we do that. Yes, it sounds like we don't track it the way that a construction company does, but we should. We should know how much we're spending. We should know how many hours each project, because then Scott or Kevin can dictate how long it's going to take to do these jobs. So that's why I'm at 4, not 3. If I thought that way, I'd probably be at 3, but I'm not. Those hours and that direct cost to a project needs to be put in the number. So I'm still a 4. I understand the business owners wanting this and wanting to pay as less amount as possible, because they do pay higher property taxes because of it. And that doesn't have anything to do with us, because we don't set those rates. But also, John Q. Public on Denver pays property taxes also. That's the money that we're trying to spend also, not just the money that comes in from downtown. So I'm at option 4, where we do not participate in the actual building of the project. And after David's suggestion, in my mind, that's 35, we're 35% of the 2 blocks. So 35% would be our share. And we're not putting in gutters and curbs like we would do with the street. So I don't feel like I'm down. I can approve anything over that.
So no one said that indirect cost is free. No one implied that the labor is free.
No, everybody's implying it through this whole
No one's
process.
implying it. No one's implying
Well,
it.
that is a costing thing. It's already budgeted.
So the question is, if we have 100 employees today and we don't do this project, do we pay for those 100 employees? That's yes or no. That's yes or no question. If we have 100 employees and we don't do this project, we still have 100 employees. If we do this project and we don't hire net new employees, we still have 100 employees. The labor's not free. We pay those employees. Those employees cost us $20 an hour, $30 an hour with benefits, whatever that is. The reality is, what the decision that staff has to make, that our staff leadership, that we task them to do, and that the decisions they make based on the information that we give them and the direction that we give them, is they decide where those hours are spent. They decide if employee 1 is going to spend today digging a hole in a park or planting a tree in a park, or if they're going to spend today putting up a stop sign. That's their job to task that. Our job is to set policy, but oftentimes we task staff with new things. The labor's not free. We have that labor, the labor's there. We have to decide where we're gonna prioritize that labor's being spent. So that's in business, that's the difference between direct and indirect cost. The labor is there no matter what. We have to decide where it's gonna be spent. I absolutely concur that our downtown businesses pay more in taxes, and that our businesses, not downtown businesses in general, pay more in property tax, and that's a challenge across the board, and it's a challenge that I wish that we could address at multiple levels. Again, I go back, when we look at history of how this commission has directed staff to do work in the past, historically, we regularly give staff work to do that takes them off task of whatever of another project. We prioritize projects that are already on the books. And while staff may be working on project A, we say we really want to get this one done ahead of time. And so they reprioritize. That's what we pay these guys to do, David to run these guys, is to be able to set those priorities. And oftentimes, we stretch staff beyond capacity. And that is not necessarily fair, but that's the nature of the beast. And sometimes when projects come up, it happens in every business, unless you just for some reason have tons of excess employees that sit around doing nothing. And I don't think that's the case at the city. You know, your staff stays busy. I know that's the case at the college as well. We're at or beyond capacity, and so we have to reprioritize the projects and the tasks that are given us. So because of that, and because this is work that the city does otherwise, this is the reason that I'm for the city participating, both in labor and in cost. And as I alluded to during the work session, it doesn't seem like, based on the conversations that I'm hearing, it doesn't seem like we're going to have a three-person consensus on either side. So this is likely going to get tabled until we have another commissioner here. And if that screws up the timeline for Evergy, it is what it is. There's nothing that we can do about that. This is the challenge with government and how it works. If we can't make policy with a majority vote, then we can't just dictate that things happen otherwise. So which is good. I don't want anyone just, dictating what happens. And so we have to have a majority vote on this board. And if there's not going to be a consensus reached tonight, then it will have to be, that can will have to be kicked down the road until.
I appreciate the fact that.
No, I'm sorry,
Dave,
Kendra.
no,
I've got one more thing I wanted to say. I also think that I appreciate the business owners. We had a couple of them that come up and said that we really want this, but if the price is high, then we can't do it. And I think that it's kind of short-sighted to say, well, gosh, if you guys really want it, then you should pay anything to do it. We all want, there's lots of things that we want. We want new parks, new baseball fields. We'd love all new streets, but the city, or the businesses, just like the city, has limited resources. And when we can look at a significant number of our businesses downtown or on West Central, wherever they're located, that really struggle just to keep the doors open and keep employees paid and to keep our citizens employed, I understand that. I understand this thought that if you add another $2,000 or $3,000 a year, that there's businesses that will have an impact on, and that may result in fewer hours or fewer employees or not being able to accomplish some tasks. It's opportunity loss at that point whenever they spend that $3,000. So I understand that, and my hopes are that we can find a way to make this work, for everybody involved. I mean, it's important that the commission understands that that's my goal, and that our citizens and our business owners understand that that's my goal, is to make this work so that it actually works for our business owners downtown and works for us. So I'm done now. I'm done on my rant. Dive right in.
I appreciate the fact that David looked at that in a different way. And that map sees 35% as opposed to 50. I see that. I haven't heard any complaints from from the city about doing the in-kind work. I understand what Pat's saying.
Oh, no, we did, last meeting.
The staff complained
And I want to
about-
say there's even emails saying that they're skeptical about it,
They were
about
skeptical about their ability to
ability
do it,
to pull the work off.
but they felt like they could.
Okay, but I'm
If-
just
if
letting
hired-
it clarify.
okay, That's
What-
okay.
What else are they gonna say?
Right.
The fact that they couldn't do it.
Well, again, on this project, there are no design plans.
There are no what?
We don't have design plans, right?
Right.
So as we get into this, we could find something that could be a little difficult to deal with. Now, I will tell you one thing. City staff is very good at dealing with troubling situations. So it's not to say that they can't do it, it's just that there are a lot of unknowns that we will have to deal with as we maneuver through this project. It's not gonna be like, nope, drop it and bore it and roll out and we're done. It's gonna be a little bit of a task, but I think we can do it. When I wrote that email, I didn't know if we had all the equipment, we're gonna have to rent some equipment, so there's just things like that that are going to have to be a part of the project. And even if we had a set of design plans, in any construction project, you're always gonna have unknowns that are gonna come up. You're gonna have to deal with those. So, now, with that said, our staff has not trenched or bored a thing quite as long as this. Generally, the city contracts out this kind of work. But, understanding the situation and the constraints that are placed upon the project, we understand that this is gonna be something we're gonna have to deal with and do. That's what we do in government, right? That's what we do. To the point about being on task or off task, we have that discussion a lot in staff, and I don't buy into it. Because our task is what the five of you decide is our task. That's what we do. We serve the public, and sometimes that involves doing what we define as our core services, but sometimes it's outside of that scope. And that's just what government is. To sit in a world where we believe that, well, this is what we do, and that's what we need to stay into, well, I don't think there's a business on the planet that does that very well, right? Apple makes iPods, but they also do a bunch of other things too that's outside of their core, quote-unquote, core services. As government, every government has things they do outside and inside of their core services. That's just what we do. The point is we adapt, we figure out the problem, and we move on. Because that's what we have to do, right? Now, we don't account for our work like the private sector does, because we don't operate quite like the private sector. It's a different world, and the government, there's no government really that I'm familiar with that does that, at least at the local level. And the feds might do it, but you don't want to see that because it'll just make you depressed. I think if we want to do the project, the way we can narrow this down is the terms, we're 5 years, and to Sam's point, it's exactly right. We can extend that out, and so if we look at a 10-year, it gets that payment down to $350. If you look at a 20-year, it's $175. Now, the reason I didn't include that is because at some point, the time value of money comes into play, right? So that means that if you pay me back with future dollars, the amount that you're paying me back is not, I'm not going to get the value back, right? And that's where interest comes in. So if you go interest-free, I could probably say 5 years, but after 10 years, we probably have some type of interest rate to begin to get that time value money back, and definitely for 20 years. Although, with that said, the city has had a practice of not issuing interest on long-scale projects like that. I don't think that's the correct policy, but that's neither here nor there. If we wanted to do this project, and we wanted to look at the city's in-kind match as part of our at-large contribution, okay, and we wanted to extend that term out to 10 or 20 years, then that would reduce the benefit district payment quite commensurately. But the question is, do we want to do the project, and then ultimately, what is the percentage of that? But the labor situation, dare I say, it is what it is. Because for every project that we do, this is what we do, right? If we partner with somebody to do something, like for example the stadium, we don't cost share out what it is, we just do the work. If we do a project over here and we do a project over here, we don't necessarily look at those two projects and say, well, if we do this one, our labor will cost this, but if we do this, it'll cost this. We just understand that we need to do the two projects and we figure out, we schedule them and we prioritize them and do them. So what this comes down to is if we're going to do the work, the folks that are doing the work will have to schedule it into their monthly work routine, and they're just gonna have to go do it, right? And then hopefully we don't hit too many snags and we can get through it quickly so we can get back on task, so to speak, back to core services. But, this is something that we do often in terms of jumping in and out of core services. So I wouldn't get too bogged down in that discussion necessarily unless the commission thinks that's where we need to be. But I think for all intents and purposes, it's really what is the percentage of cost the city would like to cover with respect to the overall project. And, unfortunately, there's no cut and dry answer. It could be 50%, it could be, any number between 0 and 100 is literally a correct answer. In the correspondence I provided to the commission, both via email and in the packet, I think the key thing is, precedent. While this is a unique project, it is not that far outside the realm of possibility that a similar type project, again, it won't necessarily be exactly like this, but a similar type project will be made in front of this commission as well. However, if we look at the past in terms of a precedent, what we would see is that the city has been very liberal in terms of applying city dollars for other projects. So one could say we could use dollars to allocate to projects if it's deemed in the public interest. So I guess what I'm saying is the past has been pretty open about sharing public dollars on projects. The future doesn't, there's no precedent, right? The precedent would not be legal, it would just be a perceived precedent that could always be broken by a future city commission at some subsequent time. So no matter what decision you make today, in 2 years or 4 years or 10 years, another commission can make an entirely different decision based upon the facts and the context of that one time. So, I don't know if that helped, it was just me in a soapbox for a minute. But I think if we did extend the term from 10 years or 20 years, we could lower that, and depending on what percentage you guys want to participate, it could be quite significant.
I'm all for using city in-kind labor. I look at the 35% city ownership or whatever. I would look at more than 5 years, although at 5 years, if we do it at 35%, it brings it down relatively well. This is an opportunity we're not going to have again. It needs to be done for multiple reasons. Aesthetics, safety, you name it, any adjective you want to give it. This is a no-win situation. I mean, we've got 4 different sets of minds up here on how, I'd like to just sit here and write you a check for $340,000 and just get it over with. But I can't. I would go with number 3, city in-kind labor, 35%. If we want to look at 10 years per property, I'd look at that. But I truly believe that the businesses that are benefiting from this, in whatever large or small way that may be, can help us offset the cost. I mean, if we could have budgeted this last year, 2 years ago, we wouldn't be here. But we are here, and we have to make this amicable for the city, the community, the downtown district. There's got to be some give and take, and I'm willing to give and take. I am also going to make a motion that we table this till next meeting. Next work session, I'm sorry. Or does it need to be
Well,
next
this agenda
meeting?
item would be tabled until the
Okay,
next meeting.
table
We
it
can talk
till
about
the
whatever
next
we want in work sessions.
Okay, table it till the next meeting. When we absolutely have to have a decision made.
We have a motion.
No, that's today.
We have,
2 weeks is not a, they don't have time to do any petition work.
If your option is to create a benefit district, if I heard everybody correctly, that has to be done
Tonight.
tonight.
mean, when Evergy brought this project to us the first time, they're like, we need it at this date, this date, this date. And those, I think graciously, they want to see this happen, so they push those back. I do think they're coming against a wall. Not normally how we budget things or plan things in the future to build stuff out.
I'm just going off what the guy said tonight. It sounded to me like,
They need to go. If we did the in-kind side of it, they've shared with us by the end of 2021, they need to see that work done, so they can be in February, March, pulling wires, doing all that stuff, setting transformers.
So you're saying there should not be a benefit district?
See, at the concept of benefit district came up after the last meeting, I believe, and so we, just took a stab, and David and I visited about, okay, how might this look, we hadn't had that discussion till then, or that thought. It adds layers to it, it adds the potential of protesting out, we've been represented by a few building owners here tonight, but a lot of my years, there's gonna be people that see no perceived value of this, they just own the building and have no interest in signing on it, or, others see that benefit, so how do we weigh that?
So basically, you're saying that the only option that we really have is one? Or is it two?
Well, guys, we've got a motion on the floor, so it either needs to be seconded or it's
Well, I
going to
can
die.
rescind my motion.
Well, it can die for lack of second if no one seconds it.
Well, it has.
what was it?
We table this for 2 weeks. So if I don't have a second, then it'll die for lack of motion. We can continue discussion. Does anyone second her motion?
Let's just keep talking.
Motion has died for lack of second.
So I guess where I'm with the in-kind work. So when we hit our $180,000, we stop work?
No.
No, we'll do the project till it's done.
Right. We tear up, we find some old gas line or whatever downtown, because I'm sure there's plenty of things in that ground down there that never got taken out. I'm just, and then if we tear through a sewer line, we're in charge of that.
The sewer line's pretty deep there, so.
Yeah.
Well, according to the map, we got 3 foot we gotta hit going across Main Street, right? One's 4 foot, and it's a 4 foot line, or whatever, like.
There's gonna be challenges everywhere.
Yeah, that's
One
what,
thing
but what I'm looking at is
Typically, if this was our project, we'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a contingency line there.
Right.
For those.
and there's not a contingency
So,
line in the 8.
these scenarios, Turkey, Evergy, you take care of it, you've told us this, but not to succeed.
Right,
So something horrendous better happen, and we'll have a discussion if it needs to go.
and they cover everything.
Where the other one, is just our direct out-of-cost expense. If we encounter something that needs to be taken care of, we're gonna take care of it and come have a discussion with you all.
Right.
In talking to Evergy, Cox, and AT&T, kind of game plan, if staff is gonna do this work, is we've told them, my staff would go out, we'd survey the area, come up with a really detailed drawing, submit that to those 3 utilities, coordinate where everything needs to lay, how deep they want to be, who wants first in. So there's some planning work that needs to happen too as well.
Now, these costs from Evergy, like that $340,000, if we just said Evergy do this, that doesn't include Cox and AT&T, right? Or it does?
AT&T just says that they are open to the idea of throwing conduit in the trench. They're on board at no expense.
And
Cox
Cox,
says up to 40 grand, but I think after our conversation or meeting, I think it'll be a lot smaller. None of this.
40,000 they pay, 40,000 we
We
pay.
pay.
So that's on top of the 340.
Yes.
So now
380, the whole
so
number's
now we're
380.
380.
Yes.
But this just pertains to Evergy, correct?
That's correct.
Cox is at a point, I mean, there was a 50,000 foot throw a number out, like,
Right. Yes.
Right, because we had a meeting, what, 2 weeks ago or so, and that was the first time they'd really heard about
The
it.
Friday after our last meeting, yeah.
50,000 what?
I'm just saying, a very high level, like, let's throw it down.
It's kind of a shoot and dip number, because they're like, ballpark, it's gonna cost about $50,000.
Oh, okay, I thought he said feet, and I was gonna say, that's 8 miles.
No, it was the 80,000 foot view, but their ballpark, their number was $50,000, because, again, there's,
Evergy has need and has pauses to say, which will they consider make this improvements.
Right.
These other utilities have been brought up to that, so we've done that before.
So it's the Cox number then on top of the 380?
I think that 380 is.
The 380
380
includes
includes Cox.
380 is
I
total.
thought 380 was included AT&T.
AT&T is free.
It's free. AT&T will do it for no charge.
No charge from the phone company.
Right.
That's what we heard out of our meeting.
Okay. And Cox is 40
40
grand.
grand.
So the number's 380.
Yes.
Okay. That's where it started at, and I just wondered how we got down to 340.
Right.
additional discussion or any motions?
I'm not giving up on the in-kind.
And it seems like we're probably at an impasse.
So you could do, just throw this out there, the general fund could pay a portion of the project, which would come out of our reserve, which is, we have sufficient monies to cover the project, and, I mean, plenty more, obviously. And then you could pay a portion of the project from economic development and sales tax monies, which have been contributed in part by the downtown district. So that would give you, and those monies, you know, we usually set those aside for a project. We haven't really had a project, so we could do that if you wanted to do that as well. Just another opportunity, or another option, I guess.
Has the Main Street organization, are they kicking anything into this?
Want me to speak to that?
Those
Please.
smiles tell me no.
Please do.
Leon Leachman, 1950 Quell Run. Let me make sure I understand your question. You asked, is Main Street kicking anything into that? Is that correct?
That is correct.
If you look at the hours we've been putting in trying to take care of this, of getting people informed about what's been going on, if you had to pay this as a, like you did for other organizations to come down and give you advice, consultations, you'd owe us about $30,000, $40,000 right now. So you pay us to do this now. You pay us, you give us money. Therefore, we, if you look, our charter talks about how we are worried about downtown, the integrity of downtown, the ability to keep the downtown going. That's why we're here. I don't get paid anything. You get a whole $1,000.
I don't know where you've been.
Well, that's what they raised it to, right?
Not until
Oh, not till-
January.
Oh, well, then your predecessor may get that, but whatever. So the idea here is,
My successor, not my predecessor.
whatever. So, and in terms of that, if you look at the amount of time we put on this, you'd be amazed at the hours. So yes, we are putting in a lot of hard things. There's other things we could be doing. We
Okay,
have a
that-
survey we're
Okay,
trying to
so
work
I'll
on.
rephrase my question then. Is Main Street putting any cash money into this deal?
We don't have cash money to put in
Okay.
this deal.
Enough said.
Okay? Are you putting any cash money into this deal, sir?
You're asking the city for $340,000.
We are. Main Street is. I guess I missed something somewhere.
Somebody is.
Well, I thought the city, never mind.
David, you said there was economic development money,
Yeah, we have economic development sales tax dollars.
and how much is that?
Well, there's 100,000 in the fund that goes in every year. I don't know the balance of the fund right off the top of my head, but there would be a balance in that fund from,
There's 100,000 this year from sales tax, and that has not been put toward any project.
no, the only uses that we use those funds for right now is the Cody Foster reimbursement agreement. And then I don't know if we have anything else that comes out of that fund right now.
Right now, you don't have anything else coming out, and the Cody Foster agreement, they didn't receive payment this year, so.
So,
hopefully there's-
so I couldn't tell you the balance in the fund.
So who decides how that's spent?
Well, staff would generally develop a proposal and then we'd bring it before you all for
Right.
consideration.
So if the total project is not to exceed 340,000, and option is there for in-kind work of 200,000 from city staff. And if we could get 100,000 from economic development, is there 40,000 in the budget to pay for it?
From, just to clarify, from the economic development sales tax fund or from the general fund?
General fund for the 40,000.
Oh, the general fund can pay for the entire project, I mean, if it needed to. But so yes, the answer is yes.
Another option.
I mean, generally, the city gives tax incentives to large corporations or to organizations or projects, rather, that redevelop, like, so they tear down something and build something new, and we give them a neighborhood revitalization. This project isn't exactly that, because the property owners aren't paying taxes on those utility lines, right? So it wouldn't qualify for like an NRP of sorts. But the economic development sales tax dollars are set aside for economic development projects. And so one could argue that this would be a similar type project. I mean, we've used these monies for other things like that as well, so it could be used for that.
Do you have a motion, Kendra?
Do what?
Do you have a motion?
To do that? What I just said?
Sure, if that's what your motion is.
Oh, well, I guess I haven't thought about making a motion during discussion. I move that the $340,000 of the Evergy project that the city has to cover is done with $200,000 in-kind labor, sure I get this right, $100,000 from economic development and $40,000 from the general fund.
We have a motion. I'll second the motion. Discussion.
I don't have anything to say about that.
Okay. Any comments, Nick?
No.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign.
No.
No.
Okay.
Can you find the money for the in-kind to cover it?
Out of the general fund.
Sure, we can draw down reserves for work that our staff could do.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we could do.
Okay, but so that is a yes. So I mean, either option could be paid for through the general fund. Okay.
Do I have any more motions or discussion? Or, because we're going to move on from this rather than sit in silence all night. So, do I have a motion to table this?
I move to table this till next commission meeting.
Second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next item on the agenda. New business, consideration of an ordinance granting to Ideatech Telecom LLC a franchise agreement to construct, operate, and maintain a telecommunications system in the city of El Dorado, Kansas.
City Commission, this is a ordinance that creates a franchise agreement, so in essence, you can call it a franchise ordinance, but that's not really it. So you have an ordinance that approves a franchise agreement with Ideatech Telecom. Idea Telecom is currently under contract with KDOT to build a fiber optic network along KG54. They are approaching the city of El Dorado and desire to begin to build their fiber optic network into El Dorado with the possibility of potentially serving additional customers. So what we do in these types of situations, we enter into a franchise agreement, which basically gives the utility company the ability to construct their fiber into our public right-of-way, to which the city regulates. And the primary reason we regulate it is because, well, quite frankly, everybody is located in the right-of-way. So it allows us to have, a say over who can be located, where they can be located, making sure they comply with standards and such as that. And then in the future, if they need to come back and repair something or whatever, they have to do so by notifying the city and following certain standards and specifications. So what this does is it kind of articulates that in a legally binding document. And then the second thing it does is it does create a revenue source, albeit initially it won't be much of a revenue source. The reason for that is Ideatech hasn't built their network out. But the terms of the agreement state that if they build what is called a distributed antenna system, which would be for like a wireless network system, they have to pay the city $150 per pole per year. In addition to that amount, they have to pay a permit fee. I believe it's $1,000 or $1,500 for that review process to the city. And then thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, once they begin building out, if they have direct connections to their fiber optic line, then they have to pay the city 5% of gross receipts of revenue paid by customers on that, generating from that line. This arrangement is very similar to what we have with Evergy and Kansas Gas and any other fiber utility that's in the public right of way. So that's basically it. It also defines terms of insurance and different things like that. But the meat and potatoes is basically that. It grants them the ability to operate and construct their infrastructure within the public right of way and do so to our standards and whatnot. So with that, we'll take any questions and go from there.
You guys have any questions for David? No. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 1355, granting to Ideatech Telecom LLC a franchise construct, operate, and maintain a telecommunications system in the city of El Dorado, Kansas.
Second. Motion in a couple of seconds. Is there any further discussion? So I just want to say I'm excited about this. I think that we've had conversations for years about trying to, get more options and opportunities in the city for connectivity. And Ideatech's actually a pretty good company. Been able to witness their connectivity in some other towns and other communities. So I think this is great, having them roll through town. So if there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please, Tabitha.
Commissioner Badway?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
Yes.
Mayor Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Guthrie?
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, Beyond Baseball Proposal.
Yes, so when the city learned that the Broncos were not going to commence their schedule for the 2021 season, it wasn't very long after that we were, I think it was like 2 days after that we had learned that we'd been contacted by the Pecos Baseball League to inquire about possibly having the Slant Stockades home games here at McDonald's Stadium. And it was probably about 2 days after that we were contacted by a gentleman, James Bond, I don't make that up,
Yeah.
who inquired about setting up or establishing a collegiate bat baseball league. And we would normally, I mean, it's kind of interesting, we're kind of in the middle of the homestand for the Pecos League, so it is kind of, I don't know, timing's never good, I guess, but at any rate, they have provided us this proposal for this College Wood Bat League, and we thought we'd need to bring it to you all because we need to provide them an answer, and then it's probably as well the Pecos League, because we do not believe that we can do them both at the same time. We think that could be a logistical nightmare. What they are proposing to do is basically lease McDonald's Stadium for 5 years. They would do so under the understanding that Butler and 490 use the facility and they'd have to work into that as well. But what they would do is they would actually create a base of operations out of the Hall of Fame building. And they would hire full-time staff. I believe they've talked about 1 or 2 full-time staff to set up not only the league, but also to basically manage the team here in El Dorado, create sponsorships, manage events, really just manage McDonald's Stadium. The city's portion of this is we would basically be responsible for what we are now, structural maintenance of the stadium and the upkeep of the facility and the turf and the grass. So we would mow, we would do all that stuff. So no change there. But what they would do is they would have a team that would play 25 plus home games from Memorial Day weekend through the second week of August. They would, as I mentioned, have a qualified full-time manager who would work with staff to do everything they need to do. They would advertise and solicit non-baseball events, whether that be concerts or whatever that looks like, so as to generate additional revenue, not necessarily for the city, but definitely some traffic for the city. And then obviously, as part of that, they would then reap some of that revenue. The initial year, the city would probably have to pay in a little bit, but then the following future years, the intent that they have expressed in the proposal is that they would pay the city an amount to lease the stadium during each year for that 5-year period. So we would actually be receiving money as opposed to paying it out to someone managing a team or whatnot. Kevin and I have talked to these individuals, and they seem very professional. They seem like they know what they're doing. They've set up these leagues in other communities, such as St. Joseph, Missouri, Jeff City, Joplin, Des Moines. So they have experience. It's my understanding, and Kevin can kind of talk about this as well, that the College Wood Bat League is going to bring a higher quality baseball player because the folks that are pretty good are going to be looking for that wood bat experience because that's obviously what they play at the next level. Not to say that we'll have very many major league prospects, but the folks that have a desire and have the talent to play at that level are going to be looking for wood bat leagues as opposed to the folks that don't play necessarily wood bat leagues. So they're going to have a schedule, they're going to recruit all their players, they're going to do all that. So Kevin, I don't know if you have anything to add that I kind of missed upon, but they want to get started right away. They would like to kind of start moving in beginning of August so that they can get their feet underneath them, begin developing business relations, and begin really getting off the ground running because in their estimation, in order to be successful, you have to have sponsorships and you've got to have housing for players and different things like that. And so I think we're kind of at a crux because we've got Pecos League and we've got this, and we're trying to figure out where we need to be in the future.
Has anybody talked to the other cities that have these teams?
Mayor Commissioners, I've not talked to the other cities that have these teams. I've read some newspaper articles about teams that Mr. Bond owns. Those articles seem to be positive. The teams seem to be well run and well managed. They have varying degrees of success, obviously, depending on
each year, but what limited research we've done, it looks like he understands how to run an organization. The league that he's forming that would include El Dorado is, as I understand it, these would all be first-year teams as well. He's trying to develop this wood bat league that would include some of the communities that David indicated. He currently operates the Topeka Golden Knights, which is an NBC team, and another team in Des Moines area. I can't remember the exact name.
So this list of towns, these are all first-year teams?
Yes, this would be the base of the league for year one.
So
with
they-
plans to expand.
Okay, so year one, as in next year, year one, not this year.
Right, exactly. 2022.
So none of these cities have had a team this year.
Correct. Be next year.
Are any of these extra events that they might put on at the stadium interfere with our CTC, what do we call, Chauvin?
Experience El Dorado.
Experience El Dorado?
So, no, I think the goal would be that we would coordinate with, and in fact, it could be beneficial because, as has been mentioned in this meeting, the city has limited staff. And so by partnering with someone, I mean, we could actually hopefully leverage those resources and our resources to do more. I think it's the desire of staff to add more events. And I think particularly if we have baseball games with, concerts or whatever, we've kind of experimented with some things, but I think if we can iterate some of those things, then that can create additional crowd, additional interest. And this gentleman here has definitely expressed an interest in doing those kind of things because I think he sees it as an opportunity to get people in the stadium to watch baseball as well as other things as well.
Yeah, it's Javen.
Yeah.
That's what?
It's his name is Javen, not Javon.
Javen?
Javen.
Yeah.
Let's
It's
say
like
5
Raven with a
times.
J.
Huh?
Raven with a J. J.
So a question I have, so a stadium operator Beyond Baseball retains all scheduled nights during June, July, and August. They acknowledge the Woodbat team won't play every day, and they'll make McDonald Stadium available to youth and other amateur baseball events. A price that Beyond Baseball charges for events will be agreed upon. So are we gonna have to pay for our youth teams to play there?
Well, but this is the starting point for negotiations. My suggestion would be that if we're directed to move forward, that we build dates in for our youth teams and for a Legion-type team that we have in El Dorado at no cost. That would be my starting point for negotiations with them as well. This is their starting point for
Right.
negotiations.
You're just asking us if you can negotiate.
If you guys can move forward with negotiations.
Yeah, I think the desire is to have, concessions, ticket sales if there are any, sponsorships, those kind of things. And to the extent that the city has scheduled events or rather, games or whatever, that's not necessarily where they're looking to secure revenue.
Right.
And it is our understanding, just to be clear, that this would be ticket sales. The admission would not necessarily be free unless there was some sort of promotion or buyout of a night.
Do we feel that the Pecos League is not a future entity here?
Well, I would say we've had a pretty good experience. In fact, this weekend has been their first series they've won. And, the team is pretty good to work with. I mean, we've had some pretty good experience. The challenge moving forward is going to be that they're going to want additional monies in order to make that work.
Of course.
And this one is really, I think they have a plan to make it so that they pay us as opposed to us paying out. And that seems to be something that it's like a win for the city as opposed to bad. I'm not saying that this is going to be better than the Pecos League, and I'm not saying the Pecos League is bad. It's just a matter of timing, where this group wants to get in and they want to get moving in terms of building that relationship with the community. Unfortunately, the Pickles League's only been here for a few days, so maybe that's unfair to them, perhaps.
And they're halfway through their season too. And this is a new league.
Right.
Okay.
So with 25 dates roughly scheduled per summer, per season, that they're talking about in
2 months, 3 months?
over 3 months, at 25 dates scheduled over 3 months, you guys are saying that that doesn't leave room for the potential of having
Both teams.
both teams or two groups using the stadium?
I can't say that with 100% certainty, but I could certainly see the difficulty in managing two schedules with travel dates, rain dates, things of that nature. I could see a problem. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I could see it being a huge challenge. We run into that even at the local level in rescheduling on our other 8 fields when we have rain or we have other conflicts. So managing two competitive teams of that nature in one facility, I could see being a problem.
Although we have not asked if, we have not gotten feedback from them, if would that be something that
I mean, I guess, yeah, so I guess what my comment would be is, as you enter negotiations and you have these conversations about our rec teams and our Legion teams and, the stuff that's gonna be happening there, I mean, I don't know, it wouldn't hurt to broach the subject and just get their input as well. I mean, if they've managed in areas before, maybe I don't know, I'd just be curious what that looks like. Clearly, the team that's paying for the stadium, the Beyond Baseball group at this, in this scenario, clearly they're gonna schedule everything else around where they're at and what they're doing, and that makes sense because they're managing the stadium, but I'd just be curious.
What's
The most baseball we can get in El Dorado, the best for me, so. I'm glad
What's
about
the
baseball.
difference between the two baseballs?
Well, these are,
Yeah, go ahead.
this Beyond Baseball, these are college players, summer collegiate. The Pecos League, they're professional baseball players.
So they're beyond college at this point?
Yeah, they're getting paid to play baseball.
Right, they're no longer amateurs.
I mean,
Well, that will
kinda.
change with the NCAA regulation.
Right, I'm an amateur now.
So, yes, they're getting paid to play baseball. It's an independent baseball league like the T-Bones. So it's not affiliated, it's not a minor league affiliated team, farm team. It's just an independent baseball team, baseball league.
Well, I don't know, the Jets and Giants do it one stadium.
Dan.
Both LA teams did it for a while.
I mean, I'd just be curious what their input is on that. And not that we are gonna get a request from the Salina Stockade, but, I just think leaving ourselves open for those opportunities. We've seen in the past with the Broncos, we see it with our high school and our college and other events that go on over here. People like baseball, and the first night we had the Salina Stockade here, there were
100 people
100
there.
people there.
Yeah.
It was good to see, and people wanted to get back out, so I'd just be curious to have the conversation. I think this is great, I think this is a great thing to explore. And any opportunity we can have to get our college kids playing some more, baseball in the summer, to get seen more, I think is a good opportunity.
Do we need a motion?
No, I think if you guys are just generally,
Go ahead, I'm a yes to go ahead.
Generally in favor of
Yeah.
pursuing this.
Carry on.
City Commission Advisory Board updates. Matt.
We had a CTC meeting and I wasn't able to attend, and I haven't gotten the minutes yet, so I'll have those for the next meeting.
Okay.
I do have one thing, and I'm gonna take a suggestion from Mr. Fellers, and I would like to move for us to just move forward with what the sales tax recommendations were and discuss what you want to do. He convinced me. I think it's a good idea to just really get those projects going, move forward, and then figure out next year what to do. Because it's only, I would like to move forward with the recommendations and try to vote that again and move it forward. Because I've gotten feedback from my representative and Mr. Fellers, and they were both pissed that we didn't take their recommendations. As in, don't ask me to be on this committee again. So, I believe my representative was an excellent representative for that committee. So, I would like to move forward with that. However that goes.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Are we voting on that?
I mean, he made a motion,
Oh, yes.
so,
You're a yes?
I agree with you.
hang on.
What?
She confused us
We
all.
have a motion and a second,
Oh, okay. No discussion.
and further discussion.
No further discussion.
No.
Okay, I just want to say that out of the things that have recommended, we've moved forward on the roads already.
Right, so the cemetery roads will be, if not already paved.
Right.
So that will be checked off the box. And that will be paid for outside of excess sales tax, that will be paid for out of street sales tax.
But if this passes, then does it come out of the,
No, we've already taken care of it, it's already been, we've already.
So there'll be excess of the excess.
You'll have about, what, $58,000?
Yeah, it was more about us, we began working on the restaurant concessions, trying to figure out estimates and bring you guys concept designs. It was shifting those funds so we could maybe do a bigger project like that.
But, okay, so we don't have, I'm sorry, Tabitha.
Sorry, we're talking amongst ourselves.
So by moving to this, then those projects then get put on hold. Or we won't.
Those
be able to-
monies.
Those monies, we won't be able to move forward with doing restrooms or those things because we're squirreling away like $25,000-$50,000 a year for a
plus you got an extra.
Yeah, so
you got another
the
58
restroom,
now.
the restaurant concessions in East Park will be put on hold until we finish getting funds for that. And then what were the Mac Stadium bank, that just gets banked. And then was there another project? I
I
think,
think Chelsea sidewalk.
yeah, Chelsea sidewalk, and I think there was,
like 6 or 7 things.
yeah, but there was only a couple where we were banking money, so to speak.
So the feedback that I got from my representative who presented to us that night was that there were, not everybody clearly, but there were a handful of people that were pleased that we didn't move forward with just continuing to put money into an account that may never actually come to fruition on being able to get projects done. And that we were actually in a position where we were trying to be purposeful with the money. There was also, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people about staff finding a way to go ahead and pay for the streets or the roads out in the cemetery, and very appreciative of that. So
I've heard that too.
So it's the reason that I voted against it in the first place is because we're not really affecting anything. We're just putting money into an account that is going to grow, but not probably, is at least on the baseball stadium side of things, ever reach a point where it's going to be able to have an impact. So I voted against it then, I'll vote against it tonight, but if you guys, we have a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Thanks, man. Nick, what do you got?
Library board met, Mika Hunter is our new interim director. She's doing a great job. They're gonna have their, and I forgot to write down the date, they're gonna have their book sale in August.
Sorry, I was really excited.
Apparently.
I'll find out for sure when it is. I think she's interim till our September meeting, and at that point, we'll decide if, or she'll decide too, I guess, if she wants to be the director. And, but she's doing an excellent job. Hours are still the same. Still don't have the furniture up there yet, but they're talking about maybe moving some furniture up into the reading area. That's about it.
Parks and Rec meets next week. Do what?
2 days ago, this week.
Oh, it's this week. Parks and Rec meets Wednesday. I'll let Bill talk about EFABC.
Perfect. So EFABC met last week, had a conversation about kind of where we're at with all the insurance work that was done from the flood, all that's wrapped up. Everything seems to be fixed up there. We had a problem, Tabitha let me know that Sunday night at the Crossman performance, we had a problem with the speakers there, so or the IT guys out there will get on that, figure that out. There was conversation at the FABC meeting about Crossman, about the fact that we've got some events going on out there. They brought some material. I think Doug Law brought some material to the meeting from one of the turf vendors of platforms, potential platforms to be able to put down on our current turf to be able to start holding events there with stages and so forth.
Really?
So, getting the details on that. I thought it was pretty quick, but pretty productive meeting, not a lot going on, so. Did I miss anything on that, Kendra? I did, or I didn't? Okay. So before we dive into David's report, I wanted to thank the people that came tonight and had some input during the conversation, and also thank the commission for a lively discussion, and hopefully when we get a full commission, we'll be able to move forward with something or put this to bed, one of the two. So this is how the process works. So David, city manager's report.
So, a couple things. First thing is, you'll recall a few weeks ago, we staff asked you all to pass a motion for approving a notice of hearing for the revenue neutral rate, or no, that's all I had in my head. Unfortunately, we made a mistake, and the date that was included in that was actually like an off Monday or a day in the middle of the week. I'll take full responsibility. I didn't check the calendar or something. I don't know what it was. But at any rate, we need you to make a motion to amend that so that the hearing can take place on September 7th. Incidentally, that's the date of our budget hearing as well. So if you could please do that.
September 7th?
Yeah.
It's Tuesday.
Well, the 6th is Labor Day.
But that is because of Labor Day.
On the
So
6th.
this time we'll make the same mistake
Yeah,
twice.
you won't be here the 7th.
I won't be here the 7th.
So you need a motion to hold a public hearing on
September 7th.
September 7th at 6:30 for revenue.
Neutral rate, for the revenue neutral rate.
I move to hold a public hearing on September 7th at 6:30 PM for the revenue neutral rate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, and sorry for the confusion. I'll check my calendar next time. So the first thing is, and perhaps the most important thing is, we need to say thank you to all those people who helped out this weekend. There was a ton of activities in town. We had 2 baseball games at Max Stadium. We had the performance of BG Products Stadium. So there was a lot of staff, people that were working extra hours to get those events taken care of and to support those events. And so I think it's very important that we say thank you for all those people, because without their work on a weekend even, those events would not be what they were. And we had a lot of people that aren't on the payroll. The mayor, for example, is one who announced the game. I know he enjoys that, but we had a few people like that volunteered their time and services to help us with those events. And so while they weren't compensated, they still took time out of their busy schedules to make those things happen as well. So thank you for all those folks that did that. In addition, we'd like to thank the Crossmen. We'd like to thank both baseball teams and everybody else who helped put all that stuff on. I know there's a number of performances at BG Products Stadium. The musical band played. I think the high school had some activities as well. I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately, because I was still at Max Stadium doing baseball, but I heard it was a pretty well-attended event, and I think a lot of people appreciated that event. So we're going to try to keep doing different events like that, and hopefully we can continue to use our facilities more, get more activities going. But that does take a lot of work, and so we appreciate all those folks that did that. Beyond that, right now it's time to sign up youth for fall sports. So if you know of anyone that is going to sign up for our fall sports, which I'm going to try to count to be like soccer, flag football, and volleyball, make sure you get the word out, and we'll be communicating that via our social media platforms as well. so they get signed up and get ready to rock and roll for the fall. Other than that, I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you, David. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks all.